Good afternoon. No new, let me just shift this slightly. No new purchase today, as Glasgow is in tier 4 again. Yippee. Although I might do some online shopping over the next 3 weeks, all going well. It seems everyone believes it's going to be longer than 3 weeks. Anyway, no new purchase, but I had thoughts going around in my head about Ocarina of Time, which I'm playing. I was looking for that quite neatly squares up, doesn't it? I was looking for a game to play around Christmas time. I visited Edinburgh while restrictions were lifted at Christmas, and I took with me. I wanted to take. What I really wanted to do was play Pokemon Crystal or Pokemon Silver because playing Pokemon Gold for some reason is it always occurs to me around Christmas time. It seems like a very wintry, cozy thing to do. It's so familiar, but I always enjoy it. But I've played Gold recently, and actually there's a few Silver exclusives which I would like to use. But I don't have a copy of Silver, and my copy of Crystal needs its battery replaced, so I couldn't save it. Gold I played quite recently, but I thought, well, I won't be completing it in the time I'm in Edinburgh, but if there's a spare moment or in the evening, just to sit down at my family's home, the family seat, to sit in a chair, pretend I got a game for Christmas, which doesn't happen anymore. So I didn't actually have any time to play it, obviously. I always take too much on these trips and don't get around to doing any of these things. But I got back to Glasgow, and I still felt like kind of a Christmassy, tufty beard here, I still felt like a kind of Christmassy comfort game, and I think I was watching a speedrun of Ocarina of Time 3D from one of the recent GDQ things. I think it was Gymnast, his speedrun. And I was thinking about Ocarina of Time, so I started playing it. Now, Ocarina of Time has been one of my favourite games of all time. It's been a very kind of cherished game for me, and it's undoubtedly one of the most iconic games of all time. However, I was as surprised as anyone would be. I was surprised to find that I haven't been enjoying it that much, and I haven't even been getting, I haven't been enjoying it in many ways, it sounds sacrilegious even to me. It sounds ridiculous, but I've been thinking about it, and I'm trying to sort of work out why this might be. So it's slower. Having seen, I don't watch a lot of Ocarina of Time speedrun stuff, but I suppose I've watched more of that than I have played it in the last few years. I haven't played it in a few years. So I'm probably used to seeing it at NTSC speed, and I think I'm correct in saying that PAL runs a bit slower. That might not be true, but it feels slow. Maybe it ran faster on the GameCube version, which was the last version I played, certainly. It's been a long time since I played it on N64, which is what I'm doing now. The N64 controller, I like the design. I don't have a problem with it, but the joystick is troublesome. I've got a few controllers, and the joysticks some of them are in good condition, and none of them are dreadful, but they're not perfect. None of them are perfect. One of them's pretty near perfect condition, but it's just not quite right, and it's totally smooth. The plastic on the joystick, it doesn't have grip to it like a PlayStation analog stick or the GameCube, or really almost any other analog joystick. So my finger slips off it, so it's just not nice to use for this. I didn't find that such a big deal playing GoldenEye recently, but it's been a bit of a problem. The the combat is, the whole lock on thing has been talked about quite a lot as sort of destroying until arguably Breath of the Wild um, combat in Zelda. Uh, I mean, I've heard that said before, and I hadn't thought of that until I heard it. This was probably years ago now. But it's true, the original Zelda and Zelda 2 are challenging. The action in it is not easy. They're both very different to one another. And Link to the Past is not as challenging, but it's still challenging, Even just fighting kind of one enemy, the movements are unpredictable, blah blah blah. And Ocarina of Time is just, it's kind of insultingly easy, the battling. I don't think I ever had trouble, for example, fighting a Stalfos or like a Lizalfos or something like that. Um, and and that all that's okay. I don't mind that. I play, replaying Pokemon is not challenging, but there's other things that I continue to enjoy about it. And I was sort of trying to work out why I wasn't enjoying it very much. And one reason that occurred to me, I was remembering, I certainly don't speed run this game, but I play it quite, I'm familiar with it and I play it quite economically. I don't fanny about, I don't really stop to smell the roses. And that, I think, is what I loved so much about it. When I really think back, I was a complete, I was naive going into this game. I actually didn't really know what Zelda was. It was my cousin who really liked Zelda, and she got an N64 and was really excited to get Zelda. She must have played it at a friend's house or something before that. And I didn't know what it was. I said, oh, I don't like those sorts of games. I think I thought it was like Tomb Raider, which maybe it arguably is, but I thought Tomb Raider was very horror-y. And I thought it was going to be, I don't know, I mean, I didn't have a clue what I was talking about, but I said, oh, I don't like those games. And then she was playing it, I got to go on it, and I absolutely loved it. But it was completely new to me, and I didn't really know what was going on. And when I think back to how I originally played it, I did an awful lot of exploring, because I wasn't always sure where to go. And I don't remember that I loved that. I probably found it tedious sometimes, trailing around without being certain of what to do all the time. But I do remember feeling like the world in the game was invested with a sense of mystery. And I do remember, I seem to remember enjoying the discovery of what was in the world, of what to do, how to keep the story moving, I suppose. But it's more about the discovery and the exploration, something like discovering the piece of heart on the far side of the valley, at Gerudo Valley, before as if you go down into the valley towards Lake Hylia, something like that, and discovering even that area of Hyrule Field, the Gerudo Valley kind of corner. It was very exciting, and I think I even carried the sense for a few years after probably completing it to a fairly high degree. I carried the sense that there was more to discover in the game, and when you play it repeatedly, as I would over the years, that gets destroyed. The sense that there's anything to discover in the game, and I suppose the thing is that was the best thing about the game for me. That was the thing that I loved about the game, more perhaps than the story or the combat. It was the sense of discovery in the world, which is something you can't really get back. I have found that I don't have that with the game at all anymore. I find it impossible to see it through these naive eyes, and that's probably true. That's probably ordinary, perfectly ordinary. And I think I'm realizing that in the absence of that, I don't find as much, very much else to really enjoy about the game. I'm enjoying it in a kind of an ordinary sense, but it's strange. It doesn't feel to me like one of my historically favorite games of all time should feel to play. The other games that are among my favorites, I still feel a sense of joy playing them. They're either just maybe because of Final Fantasy IX. The script is always as good, so it's like reading a new book. It just it feels good to read, to go along with the story, I suppose. I hate talking about story, but it's inescapable. The music is amazing. I mean, tell you what, the music in Ocarina of Time is. I'm appreciating that more than I ever did before, because Koji Kondo as a composer is very different to, certainly in Zelda, very different to almost a hit maker like Uematsu, who I don't know, there's a lot of quite unusual music in Ocarina of Time which I'm appreciating more now than I did in the past. So I'm enjoying that about it, but other like platformy games retro platforming kind of games that I really like. A game called Pugsy on the Mega Drive. Great music again, very colourful and fun to play. I've done everything in that game a couple times, but it's still fun. I still have a sense of joy playing it. Tombi is one of my absolute favourites. Again, music, colourful, beautiful. Done everything in that game, but it's that sense of joy of playing. It's like music. It feels good to play, no matter what you're playing. I think that's true of the best musical experiences. It's not like that's my genre. This is what I like to play. Playing music is inherently joyful, I think. And the best games feel like that, and I've been surprised to find that it doesn't feel that way playing Ocarina of Time for me anymore. So this is almost a kind of confession. I feel bad. I feel like I would no longer list it among my favourite games of, games that I now have a strong connection to. Mostly those are the same games that I have loved for years and years and years. But this, it feels like something's changed for me about this game. And I was thinking about the relationship between it and Majora's Mask. I always thought that people who preferred Majora's Mask to Ocarina of Time were... I think there was a part of me that was suspicious and thought, are they just saying that to make themselves seem more interesting? Because it's the more interesting game, perhaps, but is it really the better game? I didn't really believe everyone was that insincere, but there was a part of me that wondered that. It's like, is that like the cool one to pick? And I remember, God, it was probably ages ago now, like 10 years or something. I remember replaying Majora's Mask and really enjoying it and thinking, oh, I wonder about Ocarina of Time, and then replaying Ocarina of Time. And at that point, I remember thinking, oh my God, Ocarina of Time just blows it out of the water. Like, there's just so much more in it, I thought. And it's just it's the original. I thought it was, I thought it compared very favourably to Majora's Mask. Now, when I think back, I replayed the GameCube port of Majora's Mask a couple years ago, but not in its entirety. And I remember enjoying it. I do have Majora's Mask on N64, so I'm not going to be able to resist giving that another look, I think. Maybe not very soon, but at some point I will definitely be playing it. But I'm thinking about it now, and I can't help but feel that it is more fully realised in terms of. I often feel like there's something missing in Ocarina of Time. There's a slight emptiness and barrenness to the world. And the balance of plot and storyline and kind of motivating factors that drive you through the game, I don't know if the balance is quite right for me. I am very happy with a game with zero story. You know, the first Zelda game, there's a scenario if you look it up, but it's really just about you're dropped in this world, go. I'm very happy with that. I'm also obviously very happy with games with even less, you know, Super Mario or something like that. Tomby's pretty much like Tomby and Pugsy, for example, just because I've brought them up, are pretty. It's Pugsy, not Bubsy, by the way. Bubsy is probably better known. I've not actually played it, but it's not Bubsy, it's Pugsy. Also on Sega Mega Drive. You know, they're pretty much like, there's a scenario if you want to know, there's maybe an intro cutscene, and then that's you. Ocarina of Time isn't quite as bare as that, but I wonder whether it does too much and not quite enough. And I don't know how I felt about this as a child or as a younger adult. I don't know whether the cutscenes, the extra information you get, the characters, really ever gave me, I want to say, joy again. And did it ever do much for me? Does it do very much for the game? Is the thing I find myself wondering. This is not a review, by the way. You know, I say, what is it, 17 minutes in? Bloody hell. It's not a review. I'm not saying, you know, Ocarina of Time, 3 out of 5 stars. It's kind of a realization. I am quite nostalgia critical. By which I mean, I don't think for myself that what I suppose there's a defensiveness about it. There is a defensiveness about it, but I think to talk for myself, to talk about my enjoyment and my treasuring these old games, a lot of which I remember from my youth, to reduce that to nostalgia for me seems not to tell the whole story. And I think this is quite a good example of that, because what I try to do replaying these old games is there's nostalgia in it. I treasure this because it's part of my life, really, you know, to put it in slightly grand terms, but also very simple terms. That's not to say very much. It doesn't have to have played a major role, but it played a role, and I recognise it. But also to try to take them seriously. I've maybe said this before about games are arguably first and foremost a form of entertainment, but that doesn't have to affect the seriousness with which we approach them. I think there's a good argument to be made for artisticness or arthood, being dependent as much on the viewer as the audience as the work itself. I try to approach it like someone taking it seriously, and depending on the game you play, it gives different things back. Some games do not reward that level of attention. Some games really do, and you know, sometimes you can be surprised by that. And I'm surprised to find that the more and taking it seriously doesn't mean not enjoying it as a game. Just I think being very open as well to what the game is and being open-minded. All of these strategies for trying to go back to these games and fully enjoy them as an adult, but with an awareness of the continuity between myself as a child to now, all of these strategies have not made me enjoy this more than I ever did, and I probably enjoy it less. Um, Feels like a confessional, but I found it really interesting. I'm probably going to complete it because it's not a really long game. If I were inclined this way, this would be my speedrun threshold moment, when I realise that that's the only way I can still enjoy this game. And actually, maybe breaking it wide open, glitches wise, would be fun. I could talk about space and space in this game because that's an interesting thing. But I'll talk about that another time. 20 minutes is long enough.